right. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. Volume's up a bit. Welcome to the dojo. Dark Mage in the house with the sick flow. All right, 1 second. All right, y'all ready to get started here? Okay. I noticed the music volume flag is not working properly, so I'm gonna probably have to fix that, but All right, so what's good here? So good news is that I actually managed to get the dungeon floor optimized for a pretty good size. 256 by 256 ain't nothing to fuck with, and I had to do some serious overhaul in order to make that work. Let's take a look at it again without music for a moment. In the top left, you can see that it does dip below 60 every so often. But in general, it stays above 55 pretty much the whole time. See it drop into like 58, 57, 54. It's not bad. Like, this is not a bad result for my efforts. This is a big fucking dungeon. This is a big dungeon floor, ain't it? God damn. Look. This is big. Alright? This is a big space that you're operating in, and it's all in memory, and it's all real time. So, you can imagine that there's some technical challenges when iterating over 256 by 256 tiles once per frame. All right, like, you can consider that the CPU only has so many clock cycles that it can contribute to your process every second, right? And so this considers that there's like a maximum number of operations that can be done in this time frame. So if you have 256 by 256, what does that come out to? It's like 65536 different tiles every single frame. This doesn't even begin to deal with enemies, actual objects occupying locations, and things like this. It's not a bad start, though. However, I have delayed putting things back together again because I wasn't sure how to proceed forward from this point. I wasn't sure if I should just keep dungeons extremely small and deal with the performance hit, or really take the time to run through and trash the code base sufficiently to find what the actual problem was. And some of the more astute viewers will know or notice that the fancy pants shading algorithm that I implemented, that I was using, is no longer being used. And that's by design. There's a reason for that. It's because it was contributing greatly towards the performance loss. Is anyone in the chat yet? Y'all chatting at me? I would love it if some people chatted at me while I'm doing this. Otherwise, I'm gonna end up playing some hard bass or some doom metal. I made a bunch of both last night. I burned up like as many of my Suno credits as I possibly could, and now I got a whole bunch of music that we can actually listen to if we want. Also music that you can go into the game, although I don't think necessarily that Russian hard bass is going to be the best choice for a dungeon crawler. It will be fun to code to, but it would not necessarily be the most thematically desirable. Also, I am not answering a phone call right now. someone links me something on X. Oh, that's cool. Now that is actually cool. He made this thing. What actually was the problem with your shading algorithm? Was it just using a GPU inefficiently? No. So it's kind of funny. It wasn't anything like with the actual rendering necessarily. It was actually with a logic step in processing. And it's possible that it could come back at some point, but certain values were not being, well, actually, certain values had to be like calculated like every single frame. One of those values was actually a path. So actually, you could say it was more than one. It wasn't just using the GPU inefficiently. It was actually eating up like a lot of CPU time as a result of having to calculate out this path every single frame. And the whole reason that we had to calculate out these paths is that every turn in the game, every NPC could potentially be in a different location. Every box, every object, every entity could be in effectively different locations. And the way that I was casting shadows, or rather making decisions on how to actually shade individual tiles. And I can show you where in the code this was happening, actually. Maybe this would be kind of like a good segue into like starting to figure out how to put things back together again, because let's see. You can see some commented stuff from my previous work cleaning this up in order to figure things out. This is old. This is going to come back at some point. I like fucking with shaders a whole lot. As you can see here, I was previously... One of the minor things that was causing slowdown or contributing towards it, or rather was just generally speaking inefficient, was pulling vision distance and light radius every single frame. Absolutely ridiculous and not needed. Wherever they needed to be pulled from, they could be passed down as parameters. And so long as we don't have too many things that we have to do this with, then this is okay practice. Otherwise, I'm going to have to create some sort of like magic struct that we copy things into once per frame. And it's not always going to be clear what needs to be done until you encounter a problem. Like, this was something that I absolutely not only didn't foresee, but didn't plan on implementing initially. It wasn't even a part of my design when I first set this project out. It was something that kind of emerged organically. And so it was an organic problem that I had to solve if I wanted to consider having that even in the game as a feature. And I'd like for it to come back at some point, certainly. But I also want the game to be performant, and I want the game to be fun. And if the game's not performant, it won't be fun. But I care more about large maps more than I do, like, making fancy shading and stuff like that, or like any sort of weird cast over shadow tile effects or anything like this, because at the end of the day that stuff's not affecting the gameplay. It's only things that affect the gameplay that I really need to worry about, I feel like. So in draw dungeon floor, so let's get back to tracing down where this inefficiency was occurring. So in draw dungeon floor tile, so like we loop through each tile in the dungeon, right? And we draw the dungeon floor tile. Very straightforward logic, right? So inside of here, we were doing this kind of thing here. We're checking to see if for every single tile, every fucking frame, checking to see if the path to that location is blocked from the player's vision. And what this would do is you had multiple levels of shading that would allow for kind of this dynamic lighting effect that looked cool, but it was absolutely eating the shit out of my game's performance. And it was only running at 60 FPS for like dungeons of size 32 by 32 at most, which is like way too small. So to give you an idea of what that might have looked like for a 32 by 32, or rather what a 32 by 32 even looks like. So this is a 32 by 32. So you can see that it's not really a big space. And if I were forced to limit the player to only this, right? It's not great. Actually, while I'm thinking about it, as a small kind of warm-up, I want to be able to turn like the master volume down through compilation flags, as well as sound effects and stuff like that. So the music volume flag didn't work the way that I wanted it to. I'm not even sure that you can pass like F from the command line in this way. So let's disable this for the moment. Maybe this is a thing that we can talk to the LLM about. that's easy enough. Built-in expect. I don't know what a BVH is. I need to actually mess with ray marching at some point as like an experiment or like an educational type tool. Yeah, no, there's a lot here that you know about that I don't really know about. So, obviously I have stuff to learn. But anyway, because a lot of that will absolutely fill my brain volume, and it will also like will wipe out my working memory. Sorry to say. So I'm gonna try and not think too hard about that. Okay, so let's make sure that master volume flag, or like music off, D master volume off. This is more of my immediate local focus. Okay, so that works out pretty well actually. So we can just do that, and then we can okay, and push. All right, what's next? I have a question for Ader. It'll treat it as a token, not as a floating point number. It'll substitute flag with it. It says that, but So like, excuse me. All right, so let's turn the music, or first of all, let's turn the master volume up. Let's make sure like no flags works again as expected. Yeah, I would not be surprised if there are copies of, or like duplicated functionality. That's so totally fine for right now. I'll eventually get around to cleaning that up, but not exactly highest priority. I do appreciate. Is it intended that the make file has no opt flags? Well, I'm not sure what opt flags you would want, or like what flags you would expect in opt, but I do have flags in general. We have W flags, we have CXX flags, we have C flags, we have Raylib libs. So I'm not sure how to answer that. Well, C flags is probably old, so it probably needs to be removed, perhaps, because we're using CXX flags now, which typically come from the command line. Normally what I do is I pass in things that I want to dynamically turn on and off, such as debug assert, NPCs all at once, debug, music off, music volume. Anyway, I'm testing music volume and music off right now, so I'm going to do that. So music, we're turning back on. That we're turning back on. And actually, I just realized it would make a lot of sense to. Oh, and oh man, I totally didn't mean to like exit the whole thing. Fuck. Let's see. There we go. Okay. That's what I meant. Okay, so in load music, if in def master volume off, so according to Ader, and I lost my session, we should be able to do something like this, where we pass master volume in, and it just, like, if I put 1.0f here, then this is 1.0f. So default is 1.0f, and music default is 50%. So it's not necessarily, it's hard to tell. Let's try 1.0. It looks higher. We could actually reflect this information in the debug panel when we go to draw it, or rather when we go to update it, which is in game state. So if the code base is a mess, please be understanding, and not like go through and point out every single thing that's wrong or could be improved upon, because I'll get to stuff. And some things may not necessarily need fixing right away. Today's goal is to start putting things back in the direction of actually having all of the elements that I had previously. If you have not yet played the game or played any of the demos that I've put out over the last year, then you may not be aware of all the different things that I've actually built, that I have code for, that are pretty much ready to go now that I've got this optimization issue kind of tackled. So update debug panel buffer. This is a real nasty copy function. That the fact that it works as fast as it does is kind of a miracle. So look how many parameters I'm passing to snprintf for my debug panel. One thing that would be kind of nice to pass over here is music volume. So typically I hadn't been making reference to that, but we're gonna actually do that right now, because it would be nice to be able to verify what the actual music volume is in the game while we're playing it, just to make sure that this command line flag that I implemented just now actually works. So back to the debug panel buffer. At the very bottom, we're going to create another string, and we're going to call this master volume. So it's going to be the last parameter in this list. And I had it set as music volume, right? Whoops. So we need two things, right? Master volume and music volume. Default master volume, and then master volume, and then actually realistically what we want here master volume like that. Okay, so far, that seems good. So now we should see the 1.0 actually show up in our debug panel. So far, so good. Now let's change it to 0.5. There we go. And just for shits and giggles, let's try it even quieter. Not bad, not bad. Okay. So Deepseek has already helped us out with at least that much. Last time I attempted to do this, I wasn't sure that it was actually properly copying over the floating point value from the command line. That's why I had to do this, for like personal confirmation, because sometimes I'm moving so fast, or I might like be distracted or something, and I start working on something, and then it you know, like either I read a result wrong or I misunderstand something, and then I end up sidetracked, and you know, it is what it is. Let's see. Oh yeah. Wait, did I? Oh, okay. Oops. So far, so good. Let me check chat, and then I gotta probably take shit, but we'll prepare for the next round here. All right, what everyone's saying in the chat. We don't have nearly as many people showing up this morning. Poo poo poom. Oh yeah, I do need to actually update the README series. You can check if a define is used correctly with the /-e flag of the compiler to see what the preprocessor output actually yields. Oh, that's cool. Thank you. I'll have to check that out. Okay, so what was I saying? The web build. Okay, so well, yeah. I mean, compiler optimizations. I mean, you have to pass some stuff to EMCC, and even then, it's not really like in the instructions that you need something, which you kind of do. Like the inscriptin is actually like a custom inscriptin that has Raylib statically linked into it. Makefile. So standard build, like it's curious why it wouldn't be oh, I think I know why. It's because of the NPCs all at once switch. Like, if I were to comment out start time, that's interesting. Uh, 1448 in game state. And then draw dungeon floor 178. Oh yeah, well that's because yeah. That's because we're not asserting, that's why. Okay, so that still works. Like, you can build that way, but it's not, like, advisable. It's not the preferred way to build everything. Oh yeah, unit test is no longer unit. Like, we don't even have tactics anymore. It's been a while since I've actually built the unit tests, so take that with a grain of salt too. Naturally, lots of yelling, because these are old tests, and I'm just going to comment the fuck out of these. It would probably be a good idea to come back to unit tests sometime soon. And we can verify which of these actually still work. But for right now, we probably don't really care. So I'll probably have to take my dog out to do some business here in a few. No test defined. That's fine. Let's like test game state empty. Okay, good. Everything builds without flags, right? But typically this is how the game is compiled. And even then, like, some of the code surrounding NPCs all at once could be reworked, because I pretty much decided that I think this is how I want it to be, but at the same time, I still want that option, and I don't want to have to commit to doing it one way or another. In other words, it's totally a separate talking point, not at all what I wanted to talk about right now, but since someone's in the chat and I don't want to seem like I'm a jerk for ignoring you or anything like that, I just want to address the chat before I continue. So, in regards to the rules in the README, which the README is very outdated, as I've mentioned before. If we go into the README, At least this is the first update to the README in like a very long time. Also, I want to add the sound effects guy's name in here, Leo Paz. The sound effects are pretty cool, to be honest. So let's put his name there and that there. That way we got that. Not to mention, the thing is, most people are not going to be able to like run the game locally because I don't provide any of the assets. So even if you do, that's why I've been like hyper worried about like the instructions for building, because unless you have your own assets, you can't run the game. You can run the game in your web browser from itch.io, but the assets of the game are very important, and I haven't figured out a way to bundle them in the binary build yet, in a way that doesn't expose them to being like harvested and extracted by some evil hacker like myself who wants to get that shit for free because they look good and they want to use them in their own games, right? Part of the agreement for using the sound effects as well as the art assets is that I don't like give them out freely to people, right? And while you could argue, well, can someone reverse engineer the WebAssembly and figure out how to get at that stuff? Sure, they could. It'd be a lot of work, I imagine. And if they were doing it to my game, I don't see why they wouldn't be doing it to like every other game on itch.io. It's totally possible. But at the end of the day, I like that phrase for some reason. So this is actually G++. Is it called C-Lang++? I haven't even tried C-Lang yet in a hot minute. We could test to see that it even builds at all with C-Lang. Oof. Invalid value. All right, hold on. I gotta piss. Alright, sorry for the delay. I'm back. Alright. Where'd we leave off? Greetings, new viewers. Let me check the chats. The way you're creating one huge file to put everything into, usually what you use the LTL flag for. Add -o-flto to the CXX flags. People running the WebAssembly build might be using a phone. They will thank you. I have actually tested the game on a phone, and it runs, but I certainly haven't done any work towards like optimizing that build yet or anything. At some point, I want the game to be like I want to be able for people to play the game in their browser on their phone or in on their phone or their desktop, basically, or the laptop, or wherever you want to play. That's where I want it to be. I want to support as many things as possible. That said, at the moment, if you wanted to play on your phone, you should really attach a Bluetooth keyboard with a numpad. If phones even recognize numpad keys, I don't even know. See, there's a lot of testing and stuff that I'll have to get around to doing. I actually do have a way to kind of do this. I've got an adapter for my phone so I could actually plug in a keyboard. I unfortunately don't have any Bluetooth keyboards, but it would be kind of sick to like use a DOS keyboard on my phone. Let's see, 1 hour in. Let's see. It is probably almost time for a short break. But I will get some music up. What? Okay, so maybe you can explain the whole LTO flag to me. Other games do. You could provide the asset. No, I can't provide the assets to people who purchase my game. That's the whole problem. These are assets that I have licensed from another artist, like 2 other artists. So if they were my own assets, that's something I would consider, but they're not my assets, and I have to uphold my end of the bargain. I'm allowed to use these assets in commercial projects and productions, but I can't give the raw files away. Yeah, that's not going to work. I have to find a way to package these files together in a way better than what I'm currently doing. So it's a good thought, but unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at things, this is how it is. Placeholders are an option. I've definitely thought about this. It will be some legwork to create that sort of system. But at the end of the day, the intention wasn't necessarily for people to be able to build and run and play the game locally by cloning the GitHub and then building it the same way that I'm doing it. The intention was for people to be able to go to evildojo.itch.io/projectrpg and play the game in their browser, which you should do. Absolutely. Now, I'm going to take a short break, and then when I come back, I'm going to probably not look and respond to chat as much because I really want to start putting things back together. I've already been live for an hour, and the only thing that I've gotten done so far is a music volume flag and also attempt to build the game using C-Lang. Why didn't it like that value? Is that because C++23 is not being, or do we got to use C++2B for that? Is that C++2B? Okay, so minfo game state 1470 naturally, wait, no, that's game loader, game state 1470. Yeah, naturally, because we don't have an ID there. Undeclared identifier start time. It's crazy that so many things are like just straight up not building or building incorrectly as a result of these small changes that I'm making here. So originally I had C++23 in the thing up there. Now it's C++2B, but what was the error I was getting? libdraw 89 if defined debug and then start time. So why is it? So I was yelling about no start time or start. Did it? See, now I almost feel like I gotta go back for a moment. Undeclared identifier. Oh. Okay, here's how we could fix that. That's why I really don't want to rush through things. Okay, that works. Now let's go back into this. Change this back to CLang. Change this to 2B. And we'll figure out if we can like roll back some of the, because I don't know how much C++23 stuff I'm using. Ooh, that's nasty. I don't like this. So CLang absolutely shit a brick. Does it have to be like CLang plus? Oh yeah, we do. It needs to be CLang plus. Okay, that actually worked. That actually worked. CLang plus. Will it work with C++17? Yes. Will G++ work? Yes. What's the oldest version of C++ that we can compile with? Okay, I didn't like that. All the places that I'm using my templating engine, it shat a brick on. Or not templating engine, but rather optional, right? Optional doesn't exist, apparently, in C++ 14, but it does exist in C++ 17. And I'm not sure which version of the game is going to be better, or for performance and stuff, or like what's the better compiler to compile with, CLang++ or G++. What do y'all think? If I recall, nobody uses anything older than C++ 11 on most compilers. No, I actually did want maybe like a quick one-liner on what the LTO flag does and why it's something I should look at. Because I've been using, I've been compiling stuff for over 20 years, so, the fact that there's a flag that I haven't gotten around to is kind of curious. Like, if I were to hop over into man G++, or maybe we got G++ help, grep LTO, doesn't show up. So I'm not sure. It's in the GCC docs. Okay. I don't have a manual entry for GCC, really? Weird. Alright, I'm Googling it. FLTO. So I don't know the link time optimization. Yeah, it's not clear why I would need this outside of my own compiling. LTO significantly increases the time it takes to link a program because it moves the large amount of optimization work to the link phase. LTO is considered generally safe, but can occasionally expose or exacerbate existing bugs in code that exhibits undefined behavior. Okay. Yeah, I'm just not sure on why. Basically doing what LTO does by putting all your code into headers and compiling it as one file. So basically your project is already taking that speed hit. Yeah, so I previously had the game written as a like for every header file there was a corresponding like source file, like a .cpp. So every like logical grouping had its own .h and its own .cpp. I originally rewrote all of that stuff so that effectively anytime I want to add something new to the game, all I have to do is add a new header file and I don't actually have to update the make file, and this is actually really awesome. So I'm not sure like how adding, and no, you can't send a link because link sharing's turned off, but if you want to send me a link over X, that's acceptable. But I'm not going to go through the process of reorganizing my project to like rebuild all that stuff again. It's just so much time spent doing this stuff and going back and forth from one to the other. Like, do it way A and then do it way B and then realize do it way A is better. I just want to make a game. You know, I just want to settle on some stuff and actually just start cranking. So it's still not clear to me how in my existing project I would use LTO flag. But I don't think it matters. It's probably really low priority right now. I appreciate the explanation, although it's still not clear to me how I would integrate it into my... It's a trivial change that will be done in 1 hour when you have your code done. Well, my code won't be done for possibly years, so certain things need to be done earlier rather than later, and so I might need to actually dig in a little bit and kind of understand your perspective as to see why and what needs to actually be done. But none of that has to do with me actually building out the game or putting things back together. And I'm also running low on coffee. As I mentioned before, I have to take my dog out to go pee-pee. I'm actually glad that I got C++ and G++, or sorry, C++. I'm glad that I got C-lang++ working interchangeably. It's kind of nice. So we updated the so I updated README. Let's verify that it actually runs still. So far, so good. Let's also test the build out with C-lang. Yes, this is one of the first things that we have to get working again. The dead bodies. Yes. So when iterating over every single tile, and I'll talk more about the details, but there's a number of different things that we track on dungeon tiles. One of them is like we have a number of different entities that could be on a tile at a given moment, and handling what happens when you kill an enemy is an interesting kind of topic. Originally, the plan was you could just kill enemies in one spot, and like dead body after dead body after dead body could drop onto the same tile, and you could just pull those bodies and drag them wherever you want. And I still plan on having dead bodies, and so that's one thing that we're going to add back in. And I will still want to be able to drag dead bodies between tiles. All that should be pretty straightforward. What's going to be kind of weird is dealing with the fact that because I no longer have a vector of entities that we're managing on each tile, which should give us a performance boost. Realistically, getting rid of it didn't give us the immediate performance boost that I was expecting, but that's because the real issue was coming from somewhere else. However, I am hesitant to put this back in, and so in the process of getting dead bodies working again, not only do we need like a cached live NPC, but we also need like a cached dead body or cached dead NPC, right? And the whole idea there is that on a tile there could be like a dead body, an item, as well as another NPC that's actually alive standing on top of the body. However, if you kill a NPC that's standing on top of a dead body, then the dead body that was there will get replaced by the new NPC's dead body. And so attempting to like drag the new dead body away to like reveal the old dead body wouldn't work because the dead body would have effectively disappeared. It's probably going to look weird. It might feel weird, but it's something that like for performance reasons, we're going to see how it feels. We're going to see how it looks and how it kind of like jives with like what I'm trying to make here. I expect it should be okay. Dead bodies realistically should probably fade away after a certain point anyway. So if you end up killing more than one in a particular location, it might just be a quirk. Or worst case, we just don't have dead bodies at all. And when you kill an enemy, it just disappears and immediately leaves behind some sort of drop, right? Okay. Yeah, originally I had multiple CPP files, but I don't plan on going back that way because I find that the single header file style lends towards development speed. Not to mention the amount of time it takes to actually compile is relatively small, and I don't mind building the whole thing every single time that I want to test because of how small it is. I have taken a look at how fast or how, like if you organize things in a certain way, and I originally was, you could have every single function in its own .h and own .cpp. And then when you go to work on something and you need to compile again, you only have to build that object file and then the binary. And that ends up being like very fast for compilation speed, but also very cognitively taxing for code organization. I have not built my game with a profiler yet. I have taken a look at various statistics of how big the game is when it's running. It's not very big, thankfully. There will be a time and a place for all of these things. There will be appropriate times and locations for performing the optimization steps to actually making everything super clean. We're still far from that point. So, with that said, let me get some music on for you guys. I gotta take my dog out, I gotta make some more coffee, and then when I come back, we're gonna get dead bodies rolling again. All right, I am back. Thank you, I appreciate that. The music is fire. Got a lot of tracks I need to upload for y'all. Maybe I'll do a DJ stream later. Or something where I just stream the music that I have available. All right, back to business here. Cached NPC, cached item, cached box, cached door. Dead NPCs. Stretch. Fuck. Oh, man. So at the moment when we kill an NPC, they just straight up disappear. Show you that again. So you can see as we killed the enemy, he just disappeared. Nothing, just flat gone, just delete sprite. Well, what if we had, in addition to a live NPC, like a dead NPC, right? This is actually giving me an idea for the first vibe coding part of this stream. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get Aider to stub out some of this stuff for us. This is a bunch of stuff that I just don't have to type. All right, let's see that it compiles, right? Like, we've got dead NPC now. Let's see what it did. So we got dead NPC, set, get, reset, remove, and that seems okay. All right, so we got our build. Now what? Whenever we go to actually kill, for instance, in tri-entity attack, so if a entity is on a tile and it's all of a sudden dead, right? Because we killed it. One thing that we want to do is move it from live NPC to dead NPC on the tile itself. So we actually have the tile. But we're not using it. I'm surprised I didn't get a compiler warning about this. But it would be kind of convenient if we it's like we have the tile already. Which tile? XY tile? So entity ID is attacking XY and XY Z is the tile that they're attacking. So if we take that tile and we pass it to the process attack entity, this isn't using tile at the moment, but we do need tile in process attack results. So over here, if we can pass in the tile, then we can use that down here in order to move the dead body from the living cache ID to the dead cache ID. So let's do that. So first, I'm gonna yank this so there we're passing tile into process attack results now. Which means over here it's gonna get pissy that we haven't put those variables into the calls here yet, so we're gonna do that. There's only 3 places where process attack results gets called here. If the attack misses for one reason or another, if you attack and your opponent has no shield, and if you attack and your opponent has a shield. So now that process attack results has the tile, or has access to the tile, he actually has that information. In addition to marking the dead body as dead and pullable now, I'm going to do might actually consider bringing back this little UI tool called the look panel. It would tell you like what's at your feet on a given tile, or give you more information about like a specific tile that you might be standing on top of. See down here, we actually had some stuff that would manage the list of dead and living NPCs on the floor, which might be something that I bring back, because it would be nice to be able to have more than one dead body on a particular tile floor. See, we had this thing called the look panel. draw frame 2D. All right, let's pull the look panel back in. Font was kind of small, but it's working. Wait. The text is kind of squished together over there. Don't we do a measure text call here somewhere? Yeah. Oh, and then, wait. Height. Font size times, wait. Oh, whoops. And now it's a little bit off. Almost looking right. Hey, that looks good, actually. right, so far so good. Man, my neck is fucked up this morning. This afternoon. Crikey. Fuck. Let's see. So we should actually take a look at what the look panel yields when we kill an enemy and walk over the tile that it was on. I suppose for testing, I could make the dungeon floor smaller too. Okay. So one thing that we could do actually on the look panel So we got 7 items that we're gonna print. The offset for this stuff, we should make this thing more dynamic. I gotta piss again. And I'm back. All right. Oh wow, I cannot add. I cannot do base 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, what? One, two, three, four, five, six, 7. Oh, whoops. Wait, what? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How is it skipping the first thing? Like, what's actually going on here? One, two, three, four, five, six, 7. Am I not oh, what? Wait. It's so weird. Wow, it's just straight up skipping all this other stuff that I've gotten there. That's interesting and crazy. It shouldn't render. This should actually crash. I mean, the fact that it's not is kind of crazy. It's all of a sudden deciding that it doesn't see everything in here for some reason. We could be a lot more explicit, I suppose, instead of attempting to automate this whole thing. So I suppose down here, if we wanted to kind of eliminate this loop, All right, that'll be coming back here in a second. All right, so there's our look panel. Living NPC, dead NPC, item. Door. And let's see. And box. Okay, that's a good start. Oh, right. Wait. Yeah, so we actually do get the player's location. As you can see, the living NPC tile, or the living NPC variable, shows the hero's ID wherever we're walking. And so what we want to see next is when we are marking the player or the enemy as dead, we want to see a dead body on the tile. I know that like in our draw step, we're not explicitly checking for dead bodies at the moment. We previously were. But we have to get the logical component first before we can get the drawing working again. So So whenever an enemy dies on a tile, we have to update a variable on the tile to like indicate that there is a dead body here, and which dead body. And at some point we might have a global list of dead bodies so that we don't keep this on a per tile basis. But the original reason that we do it this way is because there's this correlation between like iterating over each tile and its XY position versus storing numerical values for these locations. So if you're iterating over a tile in a grid at location like XY, how do you know that there's any entities at that location? Well, previously, I was using a vector. Every single tile had its own vector, and this is kind of expensive computationally and memory-wise. If instead we had a list of entities that was global and, you know, for like a single floor, if we had a list of like alive NPCs and then go to check each one of these NPCs, so like for every single tile, go to your list of living NPCs and check to see each living NPC's location and check to see if it's at this location. And this sounds very expensive too, and I don't think that's a great solution, just talking it out loud. My body's going through some crazy cracking shit right now. We didn't get as many people showing up today, but that's okay. You know, not every stream's got to be the biggest stream, although it would be nice if things continued to increase. Maybe there's something with my title or with my flags or what, but whatever. So if we set the cache dead NPC here, then when we kill the enemy now, at the very least when we walk over the tile, we should see this reflected in the look panel, right? And if that's true, then that's step one complete, and step two is just wiring up the drawing of the dead bodies again. Okay, so that's interesting. Even though we call set cache dead NPC, it's not updating, or it didn't update rather. Oh, so reset cache is actually, this is one reason. This is a problem. We do not necessarily want to reset the cache every single time. We definitely don't want to wipe out any dead NPCs if we're simply moving into that space. Okay, that looked like it was working. All right, drawing the dungeon floor. Oh, that's fantastic. My one of my students decides he needs to cancel this next week's class. That's great. That's $25 less than I'm going to be making. As if I wasn't already broke as fuck. Will be. That said, if anyone wants to support the game's development, now is a really good time to consider making a purchase on itch.io. This game is a work in progress and free to play for now. You can go to evildojo.itch.io, but I do appreciate all financial support, of which you have many options. I want to do this as my main thing, and at the end of the day, I am just trying to make ends meet. So if anyone is able to financially contribute to the dojo's success, I would greatly appreciate that. I don't know how often I should do this sort of thing, but you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Let's see if this will get us dead NPCs back, because if it does, it might be break time. No, first of all, I one-shotted that dude, but he, oh, an extra check. Extra check is, gotta be this thing. Okay. Okay. Dead bodies are back in town. All right. Just for fun. Let's put some monsters back in here. Some weird, a little bit of weird behavior with their movement. Looks good. Doesn't feel too bad. Just as I crack 100 views on today's stream. Or on this moment stream. I don't know if I'm going to come back. I should come back later. I should really make a strong effort to get like 8 hours of dev time every day. Standard job, that's what I want, right? So there's going to be some quirks with this kind of thing. And being able to pull a dead body again would be really awesome. I like that mechanic a lot. I want to be able to do cool things with that. If you kill an enemy and it's on top of another body, the old body is going to get wiped out by the new body. Similarly, if you have, maybe this is a problem I should solve now. Similarly, if you have like a dead body, like two dead bodies next to each other, and you want to pull a dead body from one tile to another that has a dead body as well, and then you pull the same body past that point, currently the logic would wipe out one of those two dead bodies as you're dragging it. This logically makes no sense. So what I'm thinking we might have to do is actually create like a cluster, like a dead body cluster. Like a hard-coded array of dead bodies. Oh, and wasn't I talking about making like a global cache? The problem there is we'd have to like constantly be looking stuff up. And it is kind of nice to be able to just directly associate the tile with the dead bodies. And if we just do some real simple, dumb array management type stuff here. So start off by maintaining a basic list. And so at the moment, we're caching like the most recent dead body, right? So we go to add a new entity. So like so at the moment, we're setting this single variable in process attack results. We just directly set cache dead NPC. But what would make a lot more sense here is to actually add a dead body. Or add dead NPC. But we don't want to just we don't want to like it's not strictly that we want to do that all the time. If dead NPCs count is greater than or equal to max dead NPCs per tile, then we're going to return false. Or better yet, we might want to rotate out. In future, might want to rotate old dead bodies out. So at least doing this way, the most recently killed NPC on a tile will be in its cache. And we also add it to an array. So instead of counting that way, what we'll do is for int I equals 0, I is less than dead NPCs count count plus equals dead NPCs of I not equal to invalid 1, otherwise 0. So at least doing it this way, whenever we kill enemies on top of the same tile as a dead body, before we get to the rendering phase anyway, we will be able to see this reflected in the look panel. Like, it should actually start counting that there's more than one dead body there. Did I just watch a dead body disappear? I did. I saw that. Oh, weird, interesting. He's disappearing as... and then he's coming back. That's super weird. There's probably a bug in the rendering. I want to get someone else on this tile so we can get a second body. There we go. I watched the previous one disappear. However, it does reflect that there are 2 dead bodies now. Now there's 3. Now there's 4. Now there's 5. So that seems to be working out pretty good. What's up, programming? Hope you're having a great Monday. Let's see that 256 by 256 is still like maintained. Watch everything start coming to a crawl again. looks good still. Although we should probably test it with more enemies. Maybe 128 enemies. What's 128 times 128? 16,000. So let's do like 1,000. It looks good, but let's automate the test. Let's just like make the dude walk around. Hopefully this gives you some of the idea of the scale that I'm looking to work at here. Actually getting a few more viewers. Nice. Hope everyone's having a good Monday. Almost been live for 3 hours now. And we made a little bit of progress. We not only got dead bodies back in, but we also figured out a way to deal with multiple dead bodies on a per tile basis. Alright, newest build is up on GitHub anyway. Newest code push. I shouldn't say newest build. I don't want to push another build to itch until I get the other moving parts working again, but it effectively will still be a sandbox. after I recharge, the next steps... Let me think about that for a second. So next steps would probably be item drops and equipable items, and being able to equip items like the sword and the shield again and have regular combat. Not a whole lot has changed there, so everything should plug back in very easily. The things that I have to plug back in should be easy to plug back in. It's just a bit of a slog in doing each individual one and making sure that stuff still works. But by the end of it, we'll have sword, shields, combat, box pushing, box pulling, dead body pulling, and maybe you also get like maybe I'll start like handcrafting some dungeons or some like floors, and manually placing things and kind of seeing how things fit and how we might be able to leverage some procedural generation aspects. If anyone doesn't have any questions, I need to start eating earlier in my day. Probably shouldn't go 3 hours coding without eating or having any sort of energy input. Not a great thing that I do, but you know, is what it is, par for the course. Oh Lord, there's so much shit that I have to do. It's not pleasant, not just in this game, but in life. I try to keep a positive head on my shoulders. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. If you like what I'm doing, I only got one fucking like today. Y'all need to give me a like. Y'all need to subscribe to my shit. Y'all need to actually participate and, you know, if you're going to watch me, pretend like you give a fuck about what I'm doing. So, give me that like, give me that subscribe, and I will look for your, you know, reviews and comments on the itch.io page. Would love to see more feedback. Anyway, peace out, guys. Like the fucking stream. Subscribe. Do it. Do it now.